Apparently, this is the country to move to if you're a freedom-loving Westerner who wants to experience a European lifestyle in one of the oldest cities in Europe, where Roman emperors were born, with beautiful nature all around you and strong people who are not afraid of saying no and standing up for what they believe in. Then Serbia may just be the place for you. Let's take a look at what is involved in regards to gaining residency in this fantastic European country.
For those who are keen to have more of a European lifestyle, except more of a freedom focused European lifestyle, then I am talking about Serbia, of course. Serbia is in the Balkans. It's a small country. It's landlocked, though it's not far from a beautiful coastline. I have traveled along Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania, Greece, and these countries are absolutely spectacular, amazing food. And what I like the most about Serbia at the moment is its geopolitical stance on the world. It seems to be a great place for those who value freedom, who just kind of want to be left alone and not told what to do by non elected organizations that seem to be collectively telling the world how they should live. So, this map is a very interesting one. It is showing in the blue the members of NATO or the Western alliances, let's just say, and the light blue are those who would like to join NATO. There's a few here, and obviously war is going on along those lines. The maroon are those that are members of BRICS, or which is of course Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and quite a few other countries now. The bright red are those who have applied to join BRICS or who are hosting military bases like Chinese or Russian military bases. So, different allegiances around the world. We're definitely in a multipolar world and increasingly so every day. And then there's those interesting colors of the pink ones, which who countries that have expressed interest in joining BRICS or becoming an observer of the CSTO. So I had to look up what that is, because I'm not the most up to date on geopolitics. It's the Collective Security Treaty Organization. I have heard of this before, just kind of forgot about it. It's kind of a counter to NATO, made up of former Soviet republics. So there's, I believe, what does it say here? 6 post-Soviet states. So Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and Tajikistan, and they formed their own uh, military alliance as well. So then there are the purple ones, which has just been classed as multipolar on this map, which I guess you could say is meaning that they are walking that tightrope of being friends to all. And that's the countries that I would like to spend more time in. Now, Serbia is one of those countries that is in Europe. However, it is friendly with BRICS on very good terms and is somehow able to navigate, at the moment at least, friendship between all countries. Maybe not some of them on their border, their direct border. There's definitely some tension and conflict there, but for the majority, on the whole, they seem to be doing well in regards to just saying, look, we'll stay out of these things and we will be friendly with who we want to be friends with. And as a result, it means that their passports, it opens up some interesting places. Let's have a look for Serbia and see how it goes. So as you can see with the Serbian passport, it opens up a whole lot of green area here to places that are generally red for those with a Western passport. Now, obviously, it's going a bit red for those in the Western world. But if we're from the West, which if you're watching this, I'm assuming you are, then it's our passports are already good enough for traveling to these places. It's the other places that are of interest. So Russia, you got Central Asia and China, and then much of South America that opens up thanks to this passport. Now, that's not to say that this passport is easy to get, because one of the issues of the pathway to naturalization is you need to renounce. You can't have dual citizenship with Serbia, although I have heard there are some ways around that. And at the moment, it is being debated in parliament in Serbia as to whether or not they change that. So, if they change that, it will make this even more attractive. And they're also debating some other changes as well that make it very attractive. So, let's have a look at what is required to actually gain residency in Serbia. So, what I found on quite a few different sites, and I actually end up speaking to two different Serbian lawyers as well. One who was dealing with the Russian influx of immigrants, because a lot of people moved to Serbia from Russia when the war started, and that's a huge community there. And then also one who's dealing with just foreigners in general, English speaking foreigners. And between the two of them, I got a lot of information. The lowdown is this, that you can get probably the best way to get temporary residency is to invest into Serbia. Now, a lot of people may be watching this saying, well, I don't have a ton of money to invest. That's part of the attraction of Serbia, is that you can invest in real estate and there's actually no required amount. So, unlike many other countries, particularly in the European Union or in Europe in general, it's at least 250,000 euros as a minimum, and it goes way higher than that to invest in real estate in order to gain some sort of residency or potentially pathway to citizenship. With Serbia, they don't have a minimum requirement. So if you find a 10,000 euro, 20,000 euro, 50,000 euro property, then you can purchase that and you will gain residency with that as a result. So that's very attractive, because the properties, although they have increased in value over the last couple of years, as almost everywhere in the world has, or many places in demand like Serbia, um, it's still quite affordable. So you can still find properties that are very attractive, particularly in the countryside. Now, in Belgrade, which is the capital, it's obviously going to be the most expensive, but there are plenty of other lovely cities that you could look out for. So if we zoom in a bit here, so we've got Novi Sad in the north. That's quite a popular spot, and lower prices. Basically, everywhere outside of Belgrade is uh, a more accessible property market. You've got Niš in the south, and yeah, all sorts of places that you can choose. It all depends on what you like. There's some mountains, there's some wilderness, there's some kind of flatter plain area, kind of like Hungary. There's all sorts of things. So there's a lot of beauty there. This is a traditional, more orthodox country, and as a result, it has a very appealing culture for many of us who value freedom. So that is one pathway that you can invest in real estate. Now, if you don't have the funds to invest in real estate, the other pathway is you can set up a business in Serbia. And what that will uh, essentially, what are the requirements for that? Well, there's not really many requirements. It was very open, and you can set up something the equivalent of an LLC, and you can be the employee, the sole employee of that. It could be an online business, it could be in person, it could be a service, it could be a restaurant, it could be whatever you want. Now, to set that up, it's going to cost a little bit of money, but I would say the upper limits of that is going to be 10,000 US dollars to get everything set up, all the fees done, and have someone helping you do that, most likely. So that's an accessible pathway. Then you gain the temporary residency, and they've just changed it this year to make that temporary residency valid for 3 years, which is fantastic. After 3 years of residency, you can apply for permanent residency, and the requirement for naturalization is to have 3 years of permanent residency. Now, there is discussions to change that to gaining a pathway to naturalization after a single year of permanent residency, which would make that incredibly attractive. But we will see what happens. Now, what are the minimums and requirements for this? Well, for the real estate, the only real requirement is that foreigners can't own land in Serbia, but you can own, let's say, a property that has a reasonable amount of land, but you can't just purchase agricultural land. So that's something to keep an eye on. You need to have an actual house on it, a home of some sort that you can live in. Now, obviously, there's pathways through marriage, and you could study in Serbia as well. But I'm just sticking with the most accessible for most people, which is going to be the investor or setting up a business of some sort. So this is a great way of gaining residency in a country that will largely let you be. As far as I've heard, I'm part of a couple of the Serbian foreigners in Serbia expat groups on Facebook, and everyone really praises the quality of life that you have there. Yes, people may not be earning as much money, but the quality of life seems to be much higher than other places. And there's a huge number of Serbians that had actually left during the war and moved to places like Australia and to Canada, and now they're actually returning because those places, those countries, are now looking more similar to what it was before the war in the Balkans, and they want to avoid that and they want to return to the quality of life that is getting better in Serbia. Now, that's not to say Serbia is perfect, there's a ton of issues there. Air quality is one of the concerns that I have heard people talking about, but outside of the cities, that doesn't seem to be such an issue. And it seems to be at certain seasons when the air quality gets worse. Another thing is, if you're not a smoker, you probably won't enjoy the fact that it's very free in regards to smoke. You can smoke in restaurants and clubs and things like this and out on the street. So there is a lot of smoke around. I'm a non-smoker. That's something that is less appealing for me. So acquiring the citizenship is saying here that you need that minimum of 3 years uninterrupted as a permanent resident to apply for citizenship, and you need to renounce whatever it is your other citizenship. Now, if you have a citizenship with a country that you cannot renounce, for example, Argentina, then there have been exceptions made, and I'm not sure how much they will actually look into this. So whether or not it's worth the risk and the investment and the amount of time for you is something that you will have to work out for yourself. But I think Serbia is a very interesting option, and the passport would be wonderful if they open it up to dual citizenship. I'm all for it because it opens up a whole half of the world that is restricted somewhat if you have a Western passport.
Alright guys, what do you think? Is Serbia a great option for you? Keep in mind there are no perfect places and Serbia is no different. It comes, of course, with its pros and cons, and I believe it's useful to be aware of both of those. Don't go in there super idealistic thinking this place is paradise, it's perfection. Be aware of both sides of the story so that then you have realistic expectations and are much more likely to make the most of your time in that country, and it'll be best suited for you. Because, as I said, there are no perfect places out there, but I do believe that there could be somewhere that is perfectly suited for you. Let's find that place together. Hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in a future video. Cheers, guys.